And we continue at 1:06 in the afternoon on the John Phillips Show. Mr. Randy Wang's in Culver City.
John, you might be mocking the city of Los Angeles' Just Say Hello campaign, but listen to L.A. City Councilman Tim McCosker tell you just how powerful it can be.
I mean, think about this. Think about how many times something like this happens in big, writ large or writ small. I get elected to the city council. Ugo gets elected to the city council. And the LA Times and the world and the internet tells us that we are two different people, that we couldn't be more opposite of each other in so many ways. Folks were just assuming who we were and telling us who we were and that we wouldn't get along. You know what we did? We just said hello.
You're spending millions and millions of dollars on this campaign, and they don't have enough money to make sure there's water in the fire hydrants.
There's not even any drinking water right now in Porter Ranch.
Good job, guys. Good job.
Hello.
800-222-5222 is the telephone number, 1-800-222-5222. It is our pleasure to welcome our next guest to the program. He is the congressman representing much of Northern California outside the city of Sacramento. Congressman Tom McClintock, welcome.
Well, thanks for having me.
Well, before we get to the topic, I just want to let you weigh in on this. The city of L.A. is spending millions of dollars on a campaign urging people to say hello to one another. They have a Department of Equity that is the department that is spending this money on this campaign, and they do not have enough money to fund the fire department fully.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's what socialism does. I mean, you look wherever they take control of a jurisdiction, whether it was our most beautiful cities of the 20th century, San Francisco, Los Angeles, New York, St. Louis, Baltimore, Washington, D.C., or states now like California and Illinois and New York. They produce the same results wherever they go. Sky-high taxes, rampant crime, rampant homelessness, chronic shortages of basic necessities like electricity and gasoline and housing. You end up with failing businesses, and ultimately people leave. And that's what's been going on in California, and it's accelerating. People end up voting with their feet and leaving. That's what's happened to California. And people have got to connect the dots. This is what socialism produces. And it's very consistent wherever they take control. Why people choose to live like this is absolutely beyond me, but it is a choice, and it's a choice that we can change the moment we summon the political will to do so.
Well, I've got to tell you, I am happy that the president is now taking an interest in the Olympics, because there is 0% chance this city is going to be ready to host the Olympics. We are going to be embarrassed on the global stage with these people in charge. They cannot do the basics, and they're spending their time and their money on frivolous things like this.
Yeah. Well, right. And again, that's a choice. We can change that when we want.
The governor of California, Gavin Newsom, is really having a normal one today on the internet, where he is tweeting in all caps directed at the president about redrawing the congressional district lines here in the state of California. The districts are already gerrymandered, albeit by an independent commission, where Republicans get something like 40% of the vote in House races, and they have 20% of the seats, or less than 20% of the seats. But Gavin Newsom says if he gets to draw the lines, or Paul Mitchell, on behalf of Gavin Newsom, then he's going to reduce it down to 3 seats for Republicans in the California delegation. He says he's not going to back down, that he is moving forward with this, and he's going to put it on the ballot in November and ask for a vote of the people. He's required to do that because we voted in the independent commission in the past. Arnold Schwarzenegger says he is going to oppose it. You have Charlie Munger, who says he's going to finance the opposition to this. What do you think is going on here, and what do you think we're going to end up with?
Well, Newsom's got some awfully big hurdles. As you pointed out, gerrymandering's been around Well, it was named after Elbridge Gerry, the governor of Massachusetts, who was one of the signers of the Declaration of Independence. Back in the day, he approved a district that looked like a salamander, and the newspaper called it a gerrymander, and the name stuck. But in the age of modern computers, gerrymandering's gone from artwork to science with devastating effects on representation. California has been protected from this sort of naked power grab for the last several decades by an independent reapportionment commission. That's what Gavin Newsom's trying to tear down so that he can draw the lines and essentially disenfranchise virtually every Republican in California. But he's got some big obstacles he's going to need to overcome. I mean, first, voters gave congressional redistricting to this independent commission in 2010 with more than 60% of the vote. So he's got to convince a large majority to give that power back to him and his political cronies. Secondly, he's already being opposed by a number of liberal groups like California Common Cause and the League of Women Voters. And, of course, Arnold Schwarzenegger, who has impeccable credentials among moderate voters, is already vigorously opposing him. And that's before you even get to Republican opposition. And then he's got this little problem. He's going to have to come up with an actual map, which is certain to be manifestly absurd, like the districts in other Democratic gerrymandered states like Illinois. Now, remember this, the independent commission, before they drew the current lines, held countless public hearings all across the state over many, many months to listen to every community, every interest, everybody who wanted to weigh in the state before they drew the current lines. These new lines are being drawn by Newsom and his cronies behind closed doors in a matter of days. So it's not likely to pass the smell test with voters, and it's more than likely to be challenged by multiple lawsuits that could take years to resolve. And finally, if this provokes a national reapportionment war between Republican and Democratic states, as Kim Strassel of the Wall Street Journal noted, there are far more potential Republican seats that can be gleaned nationally than there are Democratic seats because the Democratic reapportionments have already been absolutely brutal. I mean, you look at a state like Illinois, where Republicans got 47% of the vote and ended up with just 17% of the seats. If you look nationally, Democrats got 47% of the congressional vote in 2024, and they took 49% of the congressional seats. So they took 8 more seats than their national votes would justify. Now, not to excuse what Texas is doing, but even if they're wildly successful, all they have accomplished is leveling the playing field.
The Constitution is quite clear that congressional districts have to be of equal size. The data that Newsom is using is 5 years old. We all know that after COVID-19, they shook the snow globe and a lot of people moved out of the state of California to other states. And even within California, people moved from big cities to the suburbs. I would imagine that when the BLM rioting started in all the big cities, districts like yours gained population. And districts like districts in Los Angeles County and the Bay Area lost population. And you can tell these things based on statistics like enrollment in schools, where you have enrollment that's way down at LAUSD, it's way down at Oakland Unified, and it's bursting at the seams in places like the Central Valley and the Inland Empire and Orange County. If they use that old data and they draw lines that produces districts that aren't of equal size, that's a direct violation of the Constitution, and that's illegal.
Well, and that will be challenged in court, and so it's very unlikely, even if this passed, that they'd be able to make the 2026 election. And don't forget, that's not the only stacking of the deck against Republicans in states like California. We've had this massive out-migration of population out of California and into other Republican states, which means the congressional seats apportioned to Republican states should go up, and the number in Democratic states like California that people are fleeing should go down. And I've seen an estimate just based on the interstate population changes. California could lose 5 seats in the next reapportionment 5 years from now. And that's just one of the ways that they stack the deck. Illegal aliens are counted for reapportionment purposes. That inflates the population in Democratic strongholds relative to Republican districts. Now, as you pointed out, the district's supposed to have equal populations. Yet, for example, in 2024, 369,000 votes were cast in my district. There were only 213 votes cast in Maxine Waters' district. That's a 60% difference, which is a huge advantage to Democrats in states with large illegal populations like California.
When you talk to your Democratic colleagues from California privately, in the hallways, on the airplane, whatever, they can't all be happy with this. And I say that because if you're going to make Republican districts Democratic districts, you're going to have to pull Democratic voters from somewhere. And if we are going to lose between 3 and 5 seats in the next census, you're going to end up with a lot of Democratic member-on-member contests in that election. And they're all going to look at each other with an eye of suspicion. They're going to look at each other as competition. They're not going to trust one another. You're setting up a civil war in that caucus.
Well, also don't forget, just by the nature of population distribution, the current Republican seats are adjacent to marginal Democratic seats. To bleed Republicans out of those districts, you've got to add them in marginal Democratic seats, which causes a problem for a number of Democrats in those marginal seats. So what you're going to have to do is get very, very creative and draw these bizarre lines, as they have in Democratic states like Illinois and Massachusetts. And that's not going to pass a smell test with voters, I think. It's certainly not going to pass legal challenges. So, like I said, I think that there's a great deal of uncertainty here. And I think, by the way, everybody's saying Newsom is gaining popularity among Democrats for fighting Donald Trump. I don't think a lot of Democrats, at least of the old school, are going to look at this very favorably, particularly if it provokes a national reapportionment war. The Democrats are likely to lose.
And Newsom should also beware of the law of unintended consequences. If he thinks this is going to propel him to the Democratic nomination, what do you think is going to happen if voters reject this at the ballot box or judges throw it out in court? It's going to make him look like a fool and a flake.
Well, if the shoe fits.
We're speaking with Congressman Tom McClintock, who represents the suburbs of Sacramento in the United States Congress. Congressman, you are chairman of the House Immigration Subcommittee, and you just wrote a piece for the Washington Times about deportation and repatriation. What could you tell us right now? There's a lot of noise right now and a lot of misinformation, to borrow a phrase from the left, that's going on right now about just exactly what the federal government is doing regarding deportations and repatriation. Can you fill us in on what the truth is?
Well, the federal government is simply enforcing current immigration law. I mean, start with some simple truths. If we don't enforce our immigration laws, we don't have any immigration laws. If we don't have any immigration laws, we don't have a border. And if we don't have a border, we don't have a country. Our immigration laws require anyone who is illegally in this country to be detained and removed. That's the specific wording of current law. Shall be detained. It's not discretionary. It is required. That's for 4 years the Democrats ignored this law, and they produced the largest illegal mass migration in history. And now that law is being enforced, it shouldn't surprise us that we're seeing the largest legal mass deportation in history. And, as the administration is very clear, the first targets are the 600,000 criminal illegal aliens that the Democrats released with our sanctuary laws. Tom Homan's pointed out that 70% of the detainments are illegal aliens who have criminal convictions or charges. But the point that seems to be ignored is that the deportation is not a criminal punishment. It doesn't require a criminal conviction. It's a simple administrative finding that you're here illegally. And once that finding's made, under the law, you shall be detained until you're removed or a judge says otherwise. And by the way, the Democrats love to talk about the detention centers as concentration camps. Bear this in mind. unless you're charged with another crime, you're free to leave detention at any time you want for any country that will accept you. You're just not allowed to stay in this country.
President Trump ran on the platform of enforcing immigration law, of deporting people who are here illegally. He is doing that. You mentioned in our last conversation about how Maxine Waters is elected to a 2-year term in the House of Representatives with a fraction of the vote that you are. If Trump is successful at doing what he wants to do, I would imagine that states like California, New York, maybe New Jersey, and Illinois, that could dramatically impact the number of people counted in the census and could impact the makeup of Congress.
Well, in fact, he's proposed that the census in the future not include illegal immigrants who, by law, are required to be removed. That makes perfect sense to me. And yes, that would have a significant effect to restore a balance among these congressional and legislative districts, because then you'll only be counting those people who are legally in our country. But that's just one aspect of it. I mean, we've just been through all this. We know what open borders meant to our kids and to our families. It meant schools flooded with non-English speaking students, hospitals packed with illegals demanding free health care, Americans pushed out of homeless shelters to make room for illegals. It was costing taxpayers about $160 billion a year to pay for all the free food, free legal services, free transportation, free housing, free clothing, free cell phones for all of those who'd broken into our country. Millions of American workers were displaced. That drove down wages. It dried up opportunities for our own young people. Of course, we had the deadly fentanyl trade as an outcome of this. And worst of all, among these illegal migrants came the most violent and dangerous and malevolent criminals and criminal gangs in the world who've now taken up business in our sanctuary cities. So there's a lot at stake here. There's a reason why we have immigration laws. And we just spent the last 4 years getting a graduate level course in what that means quality of life. Now, what's happened since then, among other things, is American wages are now working wages are going up again. They fell in the 4 years of the Biden administration. They're now increasing again. Most of the jobs that were created in the Biden years went to foreign nationals. Now they're going to Americans and legal residents. So it's already having a very positive effect on the opportunities for American citizens and for legal residents who obeyed all of our immigration laws, who waited patiently in line, and who did everything our country asked of them to do.
Congressman Tom McClintock, representing California's 5th Congressional District. You can get him online at tommcclintock.com and follow him on X at Tom McClintock. If you want to read his piece on immigration in the pages of the Washington Times, just go to the Washington Times website at washingtontimes.com. Congressman McClintock, thanks so much for stopping by.
John, thanks so much for having me. Good to talk to you.
Likewise. Let's go to Annie in West Hollywood. Annie, hello.
Hi, John. Hi, Randy. Well, here's proof that it's a made-up hello job. Capri is married to Kerman Maddox, who is Karen Bass's finance chair for her campaign.
Didn't he used to be the guy on KCET Life and Times with Pat Morrison and Hugh Hewitt?
Yes.
Okay, I thought I remembered that
CNN
name.
a lot. He's on CNN a lot. He's on the local news always. I think he's a political consultant as well, something like that.
And he's the husband to this woman in charge of the Hello campaign.
Uh-huh.
That's interesting.
Oh, boy. It just got interesting.
Well,
yeah.
It's exactly what we thought it was then.
Right. But it's worse because it's kind of blatant and, like, in our face now.
But that's basically what these homeless organizations are, too. They're organizations that have people in charge of them who are politically connected one way or another, and it's just a way to take taxpayer dollars, send them over to these organizations, to their friends, so their friends have high-paying jobs and they can pat themselves on the back and be celebrated by the community. And then they put the politicians or allies of the politicians on their board of directors, and they all donate to the politicians, and the money just goes in one big circle.
Right. Someone's got to file a complaint. This is unbelievable. We don't even have to dig anymore. It's right out in the open now.
And it's very on brand for the city of L.A. This is what they do.
Well, look at this. When Eric Garcetti first appointed Capri Maddox to this job, he recommended a salary of $250,000. She's gotten a $50,000 raise in the last 5 years.
I wonder why.
And then we had that caller who called in who said that she had a legitimate concern that she wanted that department to deal with, and they told her to drop dead.
There you go. There you go.
Or actually, they told her to go to an attorney, which is worse.
They said hire a lawyer, which is what most people would do when they are a victim of discrimination. They wouldn't call the city of Los Angeles and their nonsensical Department of Civil Rights, Human Rights, and Equity to do anything about it because it's not a real department.
Nope, it's a fake department.
And it's not. Right, and the hello is fake. It's a payback. It's a way to wash money. The money's going to flow. It's just a payback, and she's getting the campaign ready.
You have to pay an artist to come up with a logo. You have to pay writers to write all of your copy. You have to buy ad time on various publications. You have to pay people to organize the press conferences. You have to hire catering for the press conferences. It's just an excuse to spread a bunch of money around.
To donors or people that are married to your campaign people.
There you go. Thank you for the call. Let's go to Jimmy in Whittier. Jimmy, hello.
Hi, Jimmy. John, my take is this. If Caprice Maddox, I lost my thought here. But if I would give her the $8 million budget under one condition, and that condition is her and Karen Bass walk through MacArthur Park with their Louis Vuitton bags at 2 a.m. without security for 2 hours. If they survive, then I'll give her the $8 million.
And you'll say hello.
And I'll say hello. That's the point. Say hello to everybody.
All right. Thank you for the call. I appreciate it.
You know, it's funny, Johnny. If you look at Capri Maddox's bio on the website of the L.A. Department of the Civil, Human Rights, and Equity Department, she has been making a ton of money off of this local government for many, many, many years. Should I read you some of this bio?
Yeah, go through it.
Capri Maddox, she, her, is the executive director of the Los Angeles Civil plus Human Rights and Equity Department. Mayor Eric Garcetti appointed Miss Maddox to the department's first executive director in February 2020 to address systematic racism and bias in the areas of commerce, education, employment, and housing. Under Miss Maddox's leadership, L.A. Civil Rights will level the playing field through partnerships with the Commission on Civil Rights, the Commission on the Status of Women, the Reparations Commission, the Human Relations Commission, including the Transgender Advisory Council.
You know, as a state, we used to function. Those days are long gone.
Previously, Ms. Maddox served as a senior advisor to City Attorney Mike Fuhrer.
Didn't he get investigated for something?
Why, yes. Yes, he did. During the 2018-2019 school year, Ms. Maddox served as executive director for partnerships on loan to LAUSD from the Office of the City Attorney via Southern California grant makers. Oh, she's been making it rain for many, many, many years.
Remember this the next time they ask you for a tax increase because they say they're broke and they say that they have cut the budget everywhere they can and they've cut the fat and now they're cutting the muscle and cutting the bone. Keep in mind that this department exists.
You want to know how long she's been working for the city of L.A.? Ms. Maddox also served as president of the Los Angeles Board of Public Works as a Mayor Villaraigosa appointee.
And now he wants to be the governor of the entire state.
So that's easily over a decade, possibly 2 decades of making tons and tons and tons and tons of money from your tax dollars. And what has she actually done?
My guess is she's going to get a bunch of awards for this Hello campaign.
Well, you know what's funny? I bet you they're going to buy some PSAs on KPCC. You know why? Because Capri Maddox is also a member of the Board of Trustees of KPCC.
Can we find out if they're buying ad time over there?
I will have to look into that, but I wouldn't be surprised if certain grants go to certain segments with Larry Mantle telling you, just say hello.
We have a lot of people in the audience who are very good at research. If you want a little project today, could you find out if this department is buying ad time at KPCC? Because if so, that would be quite interesting.
Hey, they could buy some ad time here. I'll do a 30-second spiel for Just Say Hello. I'm a shill.
Because if you're on the board of directors of something like a nonprofit, usually that means you're required to raise money for the nonprofit. They just don't give those board positions out. You're a fundraiser.
Now, what qualifies Capri Maddox to be the executive director of the Department of Civil Rights plus Human Rights and Equity? Well, she's got a Bachelor's of Science in Criminal Justice and a Master of Science in Public Administration from CSU Los Angeles and received her Juris Doctorate from Pepperdine in Malibu.
That's a pretty good law school. Your tax dollars at work, kids. And right now it's time to open up the California Crime Blotter.
If the cashier is dummy.
Questions?
And Randy, the first edition involves a carjacking suspect.
A carjacking spree that has led to no arrest because they escaped a high-speed chase.
Those high-speed chases used to be highly effective. And then the politicians got the bright idea to tell the cops to back off, and now everyone gets away, which encourages more people to flee.
For more, here's Fox 11 in Los Angeles.
Only on Fox 11 tonight, new surveillance video here shows the ending of last night's just wild high-speed pursuit, which aired live right here on Fox 11. Right now, a manhunt continues for the 2 suspects. They're considered armed and dangerous, accused of stealing at least 3 vehicles on live TV, including a big rig.
We back off from that? Let's go to tracking mode. I'm sure we'll find them in a couple days.
Well, you know, it's like when a starving person steals a loaf of bread for his child.
You know what happens if you run from the cops in Kern County? They shoot out your tires.
Oh, yeah. They're definitely sending Jackie Gleason after you and Roscoe.
Fox 11's Matthew Seedorf live where the drama ended right near the 101 in Mission. Matthew?
What a wild chase. That mysterious getaway happened right underneath this overpass, out of sight from helicopters, but new surveillance video reveals they might have had some help. Exclusive new video only on Fox 11, revealing the mysterious final moments to Sunday night's dramatic police chase across L.A. that gripped the nation.
Pretty insane how they just disappeared like that.
The nearly 2-hour police pursuit started in Lancaster with a pickup truck robbery and shots fired.
Oh, my goodness.
Okay, so this is not just a property crime. They're discharging a firearm.
Carjacking is a straight-up violent crime.
Over the course of 2 hours and 75 miles, the 2 suspects drove the wrong way on freeways, live on Fox 11.
Again, there's something I just always have to point out. Many people in this audience have seen what it's like when you're trying to drive back to L.A. from all different parts of Southern California on a Sunday evening. And the freeways are wide open for these jackasses.
And there is no excuse of driving the wrong way on a freeway in California. There's only one reason why you should ever be doing that it's okay. You're Dr. Jerry Buss and you're blowing a .2. Unless you're Dr. Jerry Buss and you're blowing a point too, don't go the wrong way on the freeway. It's dangerous.
Tried stealing a sedan before crashing into a big rig and taking that.
They crashed into another car and then carjacked that car.
I'm surprised they didn't carjack a Kia just for good measure.
You know, there are many people that love to use the reference, this is just like Grand Theft Auto. Let me just tell you, as someone that has played those games, this literally is like Grand Theft Auto now.
The bandits weaving the milk trailer around downtown L.A. before...
They stole a milk truck?
Maybe they were lactose intolerant. They didn't appreciate it.
Stealing another pickup, then the getaway at Mission under the 101 freeway.
Kind of the whole LA thing, kind of like, oh, there goes right in the whip.
The chase ending right next to Forge Fitness, a gym usually full of boxers and UFC fighters.
If this were to happen like right now, you'd probably see like 10 people doing a citizen arrest going on right now on the street.
Oh, I so wish that was the case.
Oh, yeah, just your luck. You hijack a milk truck, you go on a high-speed chase, and the place where you decide to end the chase is at a UFC gym. Have about 10 guys with tattoos on their faces waiting for you.
Street.
The two suspects were underneath the 101 freeway right at this intersection, invisible to helicopters above when they vanished. Now new surveillance video is revealing their escape.
By the way, it's obvious that helicopters can only get so close to these things, but do we not have money for drones like some of the other major cities in California where the drone can follow them at close range and we can see what's going on here?
With all of the technology that we have, wouldn't you assume that this is one of those crimes that would just be eliminated?
It seems to be happening more and more often.
Invisible to helicopters above when they vanished, now new surveillance video is revealing their escape. Do you believe that these suspects could have had help?
We believe they were dropped off at the initial location, and then the last car that they fled in, we believe it was staged there, and somebody else was driving.
They had a staged car 70 miles away for a drop-off where they knew they weren't going to be seen by helicopters. These are some quite bright carjacking jackasses.
My guess is they've done this before.
Watch closely as the stolen pickup arrives next to the getaway car with police still in the distance. You can see the suspects appear to get in an open car door and drive off towards the freeway.
Do we not do spike strips or pit maneuvers anymore?
Oh, no, because that would result in arrest, and we don't do that anymore.
Then authorities show up, lights and sirens on, to an empty pickup truck.
They knew where to pull over. I mean, really, to even know how to drive that semi-truck. So, that might help narrow down, who we're looking for.
We're looking for anyone with a Class A license.
And a milk mustache.
So authorities are still looking for those two suspects who they consider armed and dangerous, along with anyone that helped them. Anyone with information should call police. We're live tonight. Matthew Seedorf, Fox 11 News.
Even for L.A. standards, that was a really wild one, Matthew. Thank you so much.
And Marla knows she's seen it all. They constantly interrupt her newscasts.
And what's funny is, if you listen to these politicians that want the cops to back off, the argument that they make is if the cops engage, then it's going to lead to dangerous situations, and pedestrians and animals and other motorists could get hurt. However, if you back off, A, the bad guys are going to get away all the time, but B, you embolden them. You teach them that the way to get out of jail is to flee the cops and to do so at high speeds. And if you do that, the cops aren't allowed to follow you, so you're off to the races. And we just get more of these and more of these and more of these. I remember when I was in high school, and there would be a high-speed chase on TV. First of all, the phone wouldn't stop ringing. But it was a once-in-a-while treat. It wasn't something that happened 15 times a day. It was just on occasion. Including the one time, and many of you probably remember this, I was home from school watching a high-speed... Well, actually, I was watching Darkwing Duck. And then they cut into Darkwing Duck for the high-speed chase that resulted in some guy with a beef with his HMO blowing his head off on live television.
My goodness. Is that when they started zooming out of those things?
Yeah, I think that was the trigger point. I was doing my homework, watching cartoons. This guy was on the freeway, and he blew his head from the slow lane all the way into the carpool lane. That was the talk of school the next day, I can tell you that.
That was quite a Disney afternoon.
Yeah. Thanks, K-Cal.